let the prisoners run the prison pretty much. Because once you get so much work, you got to have help. And then the help won't act stupid. Well, they got you in the cross, especially when you're in July or whatever. Okay guys, good morning. It's what is it? It's Friday, y'all. So today is gonna be a pretty decent day. Around 800 and a quarter, 850, something like that. Yeah, and we're not gonna be working a long time, but it's worthy of you know what we're doing and what it's costing me to get this money. So it always costs something. So I've been watching a few videos, and I saw a video that Shane over there at DLT did about employees and you know, and God knows, anybody that's watched my channel knows I've had a whole lot of issues with employees over the years, and y'all know that. So I got a PhD in that shit. But a lot of what Shane is saying is pretty accurate. Find good help is pretty hard to do, and you go through a lot. If you don't, to me, I went through years and years and years of having you know, questionable character employees, and you know, there is an art to, I don't know, to having employees or not. Now, when you're 35 or 40 or whatever, and you started this business, or you're going into business, or you know, then you know you're thinking one way. For me, and everything I'm fixing to say is just for me. When I started, I'm thinking one way, and I'm thinking, okay, I need help doing, you know, these 5 lawns, right? In order to make better time. But and then so I'd hire kids in the neighborhood and that kind of thing, just to kind of help me out. I'd give them, you know, they'd come and help me. Of course, this is, you know, back in 2009, 2010. I would have these guys, you know, big neighborhood kids. They get out of school and they come help me do a couple yards, and they make, you know, $30, $40, you know, in a couple of hours. And this was even back then. We might do 4 properties, and I'd give them like $10 a property or something. And all they had to do was just weed eat. It wasn't really a structured business like it is now. Well, it's still not as structured as I'd like it to be, but what that did back in the early days for me is it freed up my time to get more work, to where you can make more money, right? But what ends up happening, you free up time, you get more work, and then you need the employee. And right there, that's where it gets kind of tricky, because once you go into the employee pool, if you will, where your business needs the employee, then what ends up happening is that's where you either have to have a good guy, or have multiple bad guys, or guys that are, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. I'm getting distracted here. What happens is your business starts needing employees in order to keep doing the same work in the same time. And then, but you're thinking, from my thinking when I was, you know, 35, 36, well, hell, I'm paying them blah dollars, you know, that's a good deal for them. But when you're dealing with high school kids or whatever, then that's different than dealing with another grown person that needs to make a living, you know. And Shane was saying something about, you know, finding somebody as dedicated and thinks like I do. You're not going to find that. Nobody's going to think like I think about my business, and that's okay. That's expected. I haven't had a lot of good luck with help, and that's been the main stalling point, bottleneck, whatever you want to call it, of the business over the years. I haven't, had a lot of great luck with employees. So I think in order for you to make the most money with the most headache, you're gonna have to have employees, in the lawn maintenance anyway. I know at solo I can do $100 grand a year, and be all right. But I'm trying to do more than that, but not to the point of where I have to deal with 5 or 6 employees, right? To me, there's a fine line there. You're not going to be able to find a top quality guy, and you're only working him on, 2 days a week or on the weekends or whatever. I mean, you can do that, and I did it for years, but a good guy, a good lawn maintenance guy, he's not going to want to do that for long if that's the only job he has. Now, if it's a side gig for him and he's already got a job and he's coming out and working with me over the weekend making a few $100s, then that's different. But that's not going to be consistent. He's going to eventually, his job's going to get in the way of me needing him. And what's he going to pick? Well, he's going to pick his regular job before he, quits his job to come out here and work with me. So I've had guys come out here and during the winter they'll work and they'll make $300 a week or whatever. But these are not top quality guys that have bills to pay. These are guys that are just the kind of employees that I've had up until Francisco and Toby. When I had Francisco out here last year, I realized that everybody's not as hard to train as some other people, and everybody is a little bit different. And I was having to I was still training Zach out here. I was training Zach. It was 5 years in, I was still training him. He didn't even know how to hook a trailer up, and me trust that didn't. So that's my fault, and ain't nobody's fault but mine. I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming the circumstances. I'm saying that's my bad judgment. But once you get once you get an employee out here like that, and you're able to do the work and you're making the money, you keep thinking to yourself, okay, if I could just get him to learn this, or get him to do that property and that property, then and you start figuring out ways to use them, even though their skill set is not where it needs to be, but it's good enough in order to do this yard, that yard, blah blah. But what ends up happening is, the more work you get, the more help you need. The more help you get, the more work you need in order to pay for the help, right? So that's been the balancing act that I've had for years, where some years I would take on properties, with the great big properties, but I'd have 2 guys out here that with me, and we can make money at that. But that's why I got 4 lawnmowers, and I don't really need 4, but until one breaks down, then you need, but that's been my biggest problem the whole time I've been in business. If I'd have got a guy like Toby back when I was 37 or 38, then the business would be a whole lot further along. Hell, I might not even be doing the lawn maintenance anymore, because I'd have been done scratch and clawed, and we'd have been done hired another guy to work under him, and we would have done that back when I was 40. Him work out, Toby came out here when I was 36, 37, 38, and worked out here a couple seasons solo and hire guys as needed, then 3 years of that, we'd be ready to hire another guy, and everything's not contingent on what I'm doing. See, when you're a solo operator and you're trying to make as much money as you can, and you got guys like I've had, well, you can't take on all the work because they're so unreliable. You never know when they're not going to come to work. You never know when they're going to go to jail or whatever, quit, whatever. You never know. So it made me in my head gun shy about hiring help and about taking jobs on that would require a lot of time. Those good money, but a lot of time, when really I could not take on that big job and just do a whole bunch of little stuff. And if I lose one, it's not a big deal or whatever. There's a lot that goes into it, but you can definitely make more money with an employee. You're going to have more headache though, for sure. And then you got to look at, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get $100 grand a year and be good? You can do that pretty easy by yourself, without it really even. But I want to make more than that, I do. As long as it's not taxing my body. I don't want to be out here till 7 o'clock every night, hoping and praying that I get paid and that we got work and all that. And the way I've been doing the business for years and years is I've been having to kind of, like Shane at DLT was saying, I've been kind of having to kind of, let the prisoners run the prison pretty much. Because once you get so much work, you got to have help. And then the help won't act stupid. Well, they got you in the cross, especially when you're in July or whatever. You can't fire them unless they're doing something just, and you don't never want to lose customers. And see, my business, the way it's set up, there's no way that we could physically do all the properties that I have in a timely manner, consistently as we are, if I were solo. There's no way. It would be literally, there's not enough time in the day. And at 55 years old, I'm not fixing to be working no 12, 13 hours out here in this heat every day. Not me. I ain't saying there's nothing wrong with people that do, but I'm not. So, okay, what's the next best thing? Next best thing is to hire somebody to help, to do some of the lawns that are, that I don't want to do. There's some lawns I just don't like doing, believe it or not. There are. And the only way to get to another part of money is to hire somebody to do that. And then you got all the stuff that goes along with hiring a guy. So some people get real lucky. They'll hire a guy, and he falls right into place, and he's young, and he's hungry, and he's smart, and he's motivated, and you get lucky. But most of the time you don't. That's 1 in every freaking 1,000. And that's the nature of it, man. So, I understand guys that don't want to have employees, but know that if you don't, you're probably not going to make as much money as somebody that does. Not all the time, but probably. You're definitely going to have to work longer hours to make the same money. Should. Now, there are employees that are nightmares, and I've had some of them out here too. Even when I had Bo out here and some other guys before I had Zach out here, I made money with everybody I've ever had out here. I've never lost money in a season as a whole, right? Never. No matter who I had out here, because I'm the driving force behind everything, and I'm making sure that everything's getting done. and I'm setting up work, and you got it when you got knuckleheads out here. You also got to be really sassy about how you route and everything. We have a lot of yards though. We just do. There's just a lot of yards. You have to have a lot of yards when you're doing bi-weekly cuts. So I don't know how many yards Shane has, but a lot of his stuff is weekly stuff. And you couldn't make a living down here weekly where I'm at. I know people say you can, but I don't think you're going to do it for long. You're not going to be able to. So down here where I'm at, it's bi-weekly. So by the mere fact that it's bi-weekly, you got to have more customers. By the mere fact that you got more customers, obviously you got more routing issues and stuff, right? By the mere fact that you got more routing issues and more customers, well, you're going to have more work when there ain't no work. So you get into some lean times. If you got 100 customers that are bi-weekly, or 50 customers that are weekly, well, a lot of people like the weekly, but I know the weekly is not going to be something that's going to make it, that's going to let me come every week throughout the summer. It just doesn't go on down here like that. Not in the yards that I do. So the more customers you got, the more likely you're going to get tree trimming work, the more likely you're going to get gutters, the more likely you're going to get maybe some little pressure washing here and there. The more likely you're going to, do other stuff, especially when you know how to do other stuff. And y'all know my business is set up to do a lot of different stuff. It is. So from mowing, which is usually what we do this time of year, to skid steer work, and y'all know I got a skid steer and a man lift and a dump trailer and a couple trucks, and there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot of stuff that we can do, you know. So when the yards dry up, if I don't have, but in all the stuff that we can do, I usually need some labor. Now some of the bobcat work I can get into, I don't really need labor. See this yard.